Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena, and in today's video we're going to be sewing up some very simple fall outfits. Today specifically we're going to be working with true vintage pre-cut wool. I love that they used to have like pre-cuts that were skirt length wool, so you could just make some really quick patterns, which I'm going to go over with you. Some patterns that I have that were meant to be made with 1 yard cut of fabric, and I think that those patterns were intended to go along with this style wool that I have, so I'm really excited to share this with you guys. I was inspired to do this last year but didn't get around to it. So I have here two 1 yard pre-cuts. They're 60 inches wide. They're pre-cuts. They're 100% wool. Here you have, what is this, Fox Ford, and it's skirt length. It says it right here. It has the tag right here. And then we have this other one. It kind of has a herringbone pattern in it if you really look. And this is also Fox Ford. It's 1 yard, 60 inches wide. So it's just perfect for the patterns that I have. And I guess this will count somewhat of a pattern haul so I can show you all of the options that I have. So here's the first one. This is Simplicity 1345. It is a waist 23.5, hip 33. I would definitely have to increase the waist on this, but this is a 1 yard pattern, and this is what the pattern looks like opened up. So this is the pattern pieces on the back. Very simple to make. It's a 1 yard skirt. It was what I assume these pre-cuts were made for. And this is the very first one, and I love this. I feel like this is going to be a very quick sew, and I look forward to finding more of these pre-cuts to make more of these skirts, because I feel like they will be an easy pairing with my Barbie mock neck shirts. Advanced 64-66. This is another waist 23. I will have to increase the waist on this, but I like that this can be worn front and backwards, so I love that you get a multi way of wearing it. And this is what the back looks like. It's just pretty much one piece. I love it. It's a wraparound skirt. Brick pattern. It is a waist 24, hip 33. I will be increasing the waist by 1 inch, so that way I have a little bit of room for tucking in a thicker blouse or sweater. I might make it 26 inches. I'm not sure, because I do tend to wear thicker fabrics in the winter and the fall, and that might make tucking a little bit more difficult. And this is Butterick 75-34. And again, it's just one piece with a band. I'm loving it. Butterick 82-66, and this is a quick and easy pattern. This one can be lined, so that way it can be worn inside out, which I'm assuming you can probably do that with all of these if you have lining fabric. This is a waist 26, hip 36, so I will not have to adjust this pattern, and I think it's beautiful. And this is the back of it. It's just one piece. And then for the front facing, you could still face this with a contrasting color if you don't have enough to line the whole thing. So I love that. One is Simplicity 2196. This is not like the others, being that I think there's more pieces for this skirt, but it is a 1 yard skirt pattern, and this is simple to make. And here are the pieces, and of course it says 1 yard skirts for 54-inch wide fabric or more. And so yeah, very, very simple. This one is not going to be considered for the two, because I really wanted to do like that one piece type skirt where just the darts form the shape of the skirt. Butterick 75-35. Another quick and easy pattern. One skirt piece and a waistband. So perfect. I love these. Yeah, sews in a jiffy from 1 yard of 54-inch wide material. A lot of these were gifted to me, so if you're wondering why would she buy so many of the same skirt patterns, these were all gifted to me except for the one Simplicity pattern that's not like the rest. So here we go. Here is the back. Quick and easy. It even has a quick pleat, kick pleat, and there's just one piece. We have our final Butterick pattern. It's another quick and easy. This has two pieces, and it's Butterick 74-56. Also requires 1 yard of fabric, and yeah, waist 24, hip 33. One of my favorite parts of working with these older patterns is seeing how the original owner made adjustments for their size. And this person made the skirt a lot shorter than it's supposed to be. And then they also took off 1.5 inches on the waist, so they made the waist even smaller. And so I'm going to have to lengthen the skirt again because of course I want to wear this for the cooler weather. And also I need to let that waist back out because I do need the extra space naturally for my waist, but then because I plan on tucking in sweaters as well as other shirts. Now to cut out the pattern, and just like I suspected, it all fits perfectly on this one little strip of fabric, and then the waistband cuts out right beneath the skirt. Obviously this isn't going to work for all sizes, so it's definitely meant for like the size 12s, 14s, and possibly the size 16. And then the skirt itself is shaped by all of those darts. Also keep in mind that vintage sizing is not the same as modern sizing, so those are all smaller sizes. Once the skirt is cut out, then I trace all of the darts onto my fabric, then I pin them, and then I head over to my sewing machine to do endless amounts of darts. So if you need practice with darts, a skirt like this is perfect because you will get so much darts in. This skirt is really simple to make and all of the focus is on the darts. You can line the skirt, and my plan is to leave it unlined. And I do have a little bit of a confession. I have a slight sensitivity to wool, and if you've checked out any of my past videos, mainly my wool winter coat or swing coat video, I mentioned that I have a sensitivity, so it's really important for me to line my coats. Lining every casual skirt you have can increase the price substantially, so I avoid that by just wearing undergarments correct for the time, like half slips. I have so many half slips, and these undergarments are relatively easy to find and cheap, so it's worth it to avoid the hassle and just use what I already have. Next, I put in my bound buttonholes, and one thing I should have done from the very start was mark absolutely all of the markings on this skirt before I started sewing, because in this clip I am unknowingly sewing the buttonholes to the wrong side of the skirt. And if you've seen my coat video, you've seen me say that I like to do tailor's tacks to mark out my buttonholes and things like that because the chalk doesn't like to really stay on wool. But of course I ignored my own advice and thus creating this mistake, a needless mistake at that. Honestly, I genuinely thought that I was going to be able to tell the right side from the left side overlap after the fact, or at the very least I figured I wouldn't confuse the two sides once everything was darted down, so I didn't see it as a big deal. So in the future, if you do plan on making something like that, just go ahead and mark everything out with thread ahead of time. And luckily, because this is a wrap skirt, the extra set of buttons are hidden and no one will ever see them, because they're so far to the edge of the skirt that even if it were to move or shift or something, like it would literally be impossible to see. But just a heads up. To hem the skirt, I'm using a softer hem tape, and this is going to be light enough to where it doesn't create any added bulk since this is a more medium weight fabric. But it also looks really nice, and I feel like it will give me a little bit of redemption for having a nice inside, despite the fact that I have two sets of buttonholes on this. Once we are all hemmed up, it's time to move on to the waistband. And now this is a technique that I've never used before. Inside of the waistband, it's a single layer, and basted inside is a webbed cotton belting. And I baste that in there and I iron the free sides over the top. And I'm going to have to baste this, or top stitch this onto the waistline of the skirt. I took a look at the other 1 yard skirt patterns, and they're pretty much all like this. So I'll definitely have to go out and grab some more belting if I plan on making those other skirts. After the waistband is top stitched on, then I go in with some grosgrain ribbon and I sew that to the inside of the waistband, covering up the webbing. So now I'm going to show you the details of this skirt before we move on to the reveal. So starting off with the hem, it looks really nice on the inside. It does have a little bit of a flaw in the fabric, so I'm going to have to learn how to darn. That is where it wore away for being folded for so long. So I have to learn how to darn so that I can fix that. And here's the waistband. You see that it's all covered up, and I use hook and bars for the closure. Here is the actual buttonholes that I needed to put in there, and of course I went with the bound buttonholes for this project. And then we move over to the buttons. I use scrapped fabric and some interfacing to stabilize the buttons so they don't pull through the fabric. This fabric is older, so like I want it to last as long as possible. And here are the messed up buttonholes that I did not cut the backs to. They're not super noticeable, so I feel like it's okay. And then I'll show you that when I fold it over, it's so far on the edge that you'll never really see it. So this is what it would look like closed, and it's so far in. This is the reveal. I'm wearing Gertie's Barbie top. It's a Patreon pattern. It's a mock turtleneck, and so that's how I'm styling it right now. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider liking if you haven't already. It helps push this video through the algorithm, and it is the best free way to support this channel. Usually this would be the end of this video, but I decided to go ahead and make another skirt, so let's jump into that one. Now I really wanted to go with one of those like 1-yard patterns like the one we just did before, but I didn't have any more webbing and I didn't want to go to the store again. So we're going to use a simplicity version that's also a 1-yard pattern, but it comes with 2 pattern pieces made up of 3 pieces in total. Unfortunately, one of the downsides to working with vintage patterns is sometimes it's incomplete, and this one doesn't come with a waistband, so I'll have to draft that myself using the scrap piece in the center. One of the quick ways to move through the process is to go ahead and put all of your darts in and bring everything to the sewing machine so you do not have to get up. And because I have my ironing board to the right of me, I don't have to get up at all to press any of the darts and things like that. I didn't make too many adjustments to either of these patterns. I did shorten them just a tad bit so that way they could hit about mid-calf. I didn't want them too short, but I also didn't want them to be too long. At this point, skirts in the 50s were a lot longer, and then they started to shorten up to right below the knees in the 60s, according to my pattern collection. I did use a pattern that is a couple inches larger than my actual waist size because in the wintertime I do tend to tuck various thicknesses of blouses, flannels, and sweaters. And I find that when I go with my actual waist size, like I do in the summertime, when my clothes do fit directly against my skin, it just doesn't work out for the winter. Also, I tend to layer more as well, like stockings and more things under my clothes in general, so it does bulk up my waist. So if you are like me and you do end up needing to layer and you find that your clothes aren't fitting in the winter, maybe you need to do 2 different sizes in the spring summer months and the winter fall months. Here I am covering up the raw edges with some bias tape so that way the insides are nice and neat. I probably should have changed the thread in my serger and just serged this so that way it would be less bulky, but I just didn't do that. I'm working on the vent area, so I also didn't want to do French seams on this because this is a 2-step process to creating the vent on the back panels of the skirt. Now it's time to form the vent. This isn't like an open vent, so there's just extra room in the back created by like, I guess kind of like a giant pleat. So I actually traced a stitching line on here, so I am not stitching blindly. I'm actually sewing on a chalk line right now. And then I stop at the part where I marked with a pin, and then you just kind of press the back vent into place. I did learn from my earlier mistake, and I marked everything ahead of time because like I'm not trying to mess up anymore. Now we are French seaming these side seams. We're so much closer to completing this project. When you are pressing, it's really important for you to use some sort of a protector for your wool. So I just use scrap cotton to press, so I'm not pressing directly on. I do press with steam, and then I use my clapper to really set the press into the fabric. I'm going to link in the cards above making my swing coat so that way you can see in detail how I sew and work with wool. if you are interested in that. Now for my all-time favorite part of this pattern, it's the little tabs that go on the skirt. It is so neat. I love this detail, and that's really what helped me decide which one of my skirt patterns I was going to make when I didn't have an option to use one of those full single cut skirt patterns. In August every year, I try to focus on batch sewing my more casual and essential winter pieces. These are the ones that lack any kind of like really interesting sewing or fun details. So I could save those for later on where I can make full length videos. I also make my kids capsule wardrobes for the winter. They grow so fast that I prefer to make them a couple pieces that I love that they can mix and match themselves. One of the best things I did last year was to cut out a whole bunch of Barbie top patterns, like the Gertie pattern. I cut out a whole bunch and spent the week just batch sewing those in different colors, and they came in handy when it actually got cold because I had so many undershirts and so many layering options with those, and I didn't have to make one per outfit because I had a bunch to choose from. This year I pulled all of my knits in hopes of making some long john pants for layering under my winter pants. I started lining my winter pants last year, but the ones that are unlined that I made years prior, I layer thin pajama pants underneath them, but I do have a surplus of knits that I don't actually sew with. And because I'm clearing out my stash, it's time to do something with them. So I figured just make as many long johns as I possibly can with what I have left to continue my stash busting. I cannot believe that autumn is almost here. Like, I have been enjoying this summer because I've been consistent with keeping up with a lot of like my home projects as well as my like sewing projects. So it's kind of like I'm sad to see summer go because I still have so many loose ends on projects that I need to tie up, and I'm not looking forward to the hindrance that the cold weather could bring. It's been raining nonstop for almost 2 months, so that's kind of put a damper on a lot of my outdoor projects, thus making it to where a lot of things have piled up and probably won't get done before summer is over. Let me know down below, have you met all of your summer project goals, whether it be sewing projects, home projects, yard projects? Were you able to get it all done? Are you looking forward to the new season, the change of season? What do you look forward to the most? I really look forward to reading you guys' responses. So now that we're nearing the end, all there's left to do is to go ahead and top stitch the rest of this waistband on, and then put my hook and eye closures and the little button detail to hold the tabs down, and the skirt is completed, and it is time to reveal it here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me. It truly means the world to me. Special thanks to my bobbins. If you would like to become a bobbin and join my sewing circle, you can click the link below for my Patreon. Also, all of the ways that you can support me further is located in the description. I look forward to chatting with you guys in the comment section. Are you prepared for the fall? Are you preparing right now? I'd love to hear what you got going on, so I'll meet you in the comments. Have a wonderful and safe day.